Hi, everyone. I want to thank you so much for attending this evening's event. And thank you so much to the Cogut Institute for the support and community it has provided me, even in these early days of the semester as I work towards completing my dissertation. I arrived at my dissertation project entitled Caribbean Women's Literature and Afro-Asian Intimacies, 1948 to 2001, through my graduate education, of course, but also through my experiences as a student activist. I distinctly remember reading scholar Carol Boyce Davies's book, Left of Karl Marx, which has quickly become the definitive biography of Black feminist communist Claudia Jones in Professor Paget Henry's introductory Africana theory class, which I took in my second year at Brown. This scholarly work stayed with me because it challenged the strict bifurcation that I feel is pervasive in both academic and activist circles, namely that one can be an academic or an activist, but rarely both at the same time. Born in 1915, Claudia Jones was someone who read, wrote, and thought extensively about the pressing issues of her day. Jim Crow, American and British imperialist design upon her native Trinidad and Tobago, the Black woman's oppression as a racialized, gendered underclass. Jones wrote about the issues that drove her to action, issues of racial inequity that led her to organizing the Notting Hill Carnival in London in 1959, and a London-based March on Washington to parallel Martin Luther King Jr.'s march in 1963. What struck me most about Jones was her ability to make connections between seemingly disparate political ideologies, practices, and peoples. Not only that, but she also seemed to insist on the importance of connection and relationality above all else, even if this emphasis distanced her from her comrades in the Communist Party. In particular, Jones's increasing suspicions about Soviet imperialist designs on the global South and her admiration for Maoism's achievements placed her at odds with her former comrades. In a 1962 letter to her partner and colleague, Abhimanyu Manchanda, Jones writes, "I have had to convince some of my old colleagues that I'm in a different orbit now, and it's not that I've turned my face from them, but that I've faced the reality of where my face was turned nearly 6 years ago." As Jones turned her face away from a dogmatic allegiance to Stalinism and towards the promise of an anti-imperial, anti-racist, and feminist third world that did not have to pledge allegiance to America or Russia, she modeled the promises and the liberatory spirit of a politics based on friendship. Jones's changing orientation towards party politics and her steadfast commitment to building long-lasting relationships with other third world leaders and thinkers resonated with me as a scholar, but also as an activist who has always had to find new homes for my activism, precisely because I refused to be pressed into line, to use cultural critic Sarah Ahmed's turn of phrase. This particular orientation towards politics, which places emphasis on the intimacy of friendship across national, racial, and gendered lines, became the guiding principle of my dissertation. My most recent preoccupation has been with Jones's writing on friendship and love, but I've also examined Caribbean women's writers' novels, poems, and life writing as representations of the intimate, where cross-racial intimacies go beyond the fragility and contingency of solidarity or coalition politics. Jones is an important part of this study, but she was also the spark for this project, the catalyst for my own thinking about the liberatory potential of the interpersonal, the intimate, and the everyday. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and I look forward to hearing from the other presenters.